Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, I was watching the Republican debate, okay, and they were really warmongering with Mexico and putting the fentanyl crisis on China and Mexico. And this really disconnects from how the American culture creates drug addicts. A lot of the videos on Soft White Underbelly, which is a YouTube channel that so many people have tried to get banned. YouTube demonetized them, censors the, Mark and what he does, because I think YouTube's interested in destroying goodness and promoting stupidity, but that's another video. And when you look at the theme throughout many of the videos which I have listened to, a lot of it has to do with broken homes, people not having a mother, not having a father, predators preying upon children when they're small, just dysfunctional families, and people getting locked up, the parents being addicts themselves or drunkards. Alcohol causes quite a bit of problems in American households. And this really has to be fixed if we are to get at the fentanyl problem. People have to ask themselves, what about American culture causes people to want to use drugs to the point where they just want to evaporate? That is a key pivotal question, because as America, unfortunately, marches around the world, trying to be the moral police, trying to spread democracy, we have to look at what's under our own rug. And as people are getting sicker, fatter, more mental illness, more just mental problems, and what I mean by that is like more autism, more Asperger's, more bipolar disorders, more dementia, high cancer rates. A lot of people see suffering. They don't know how to cope. And the television has marketed, and social media allows alcohol to be pushed. And when people get drunk, they snort cocaine, they snort Adderall. You would be so surprised how people, when they're drunk, will gleefully and willfully try other drugs. Okay. So, drinking is a gateway, yes. I know people hate that phrase, but it is a gateway to other drugs. Why are people drinking in the first place? America loves alcohol and encourages drunkardness, encourages drinking to the point where you black out, celebrates alcoholism through having women who are dancing, having men in suits, make it appear to be very sophisticated. It's been a long campaign of pushing wine to moms to cope with their stress, and then pushing whiskey, cognac, and vodka, rum, and such to older men to prove that they're some type of high-class sophistication, and then pushing Modelo Tecate, Corona to working-class blue-collar men, and then pushing Bud Light to the transgenders, right? As they're trying to recover their image. But Budweiser used to be a classic image for Americana, and then they tanked their reputation with Dylan Mulvaney. So they tried to go in a new direction because their former female CEO wanted to be hip. But the point is they're targeting every demographic to encourage a drinking culture. To have dads being beer-bellied slobs who just, anytime that they have emotional problems, they drink. A lot of veterans, in order to deal with their PTSD, drink. So America fuels alcoholism, puts a high price on healthcare so you can't get a liver transplant, doesn't really have a lot of social services of quality mental health facilities. That causes more people to want to use drugs. And then the lack of religion and the lack of the nuclear religious family breeds more drugs. And then America celebrates rappers and heavy metal and rock and a lot of other genres that talk about drinking and using drugs. So America causes their people to become sick and then scapegoats it on the cartels of Mexico and China producing the chemicals used to make fentanyl, whatever. Okay? It's very bizarre how so many of the politicians, they are really warmongering. You can't go to war with another country like China, who are economically dependent upon, or Mexico, who has tons of Mexican dual citizens and illegals here and has a long history with America. You just can't send special forces into their country against those people's permission to go and cause and destabilize their areas in order to tackle cartels. The truth is, tons of politicians, these rich luxury leeches, use drugs. Their family members use drugs. I mean, rich people love alcohol and drugs just as much as the poor homeless person who's tweaked out of his mind. A lot of people ignore this. Every political event you would go to, there's, like, for example, let's say Chris Christie. You go to his house or something, there's going to be alcohol there, I bet. None of them preach sobriety and how do you keep moms in the home so that the men can provide, so that the children can have a mom. They don't discuss any of the spiritual aspect of children being raised in shitty public schools with underpaid foreign nannies. And they lack this fundamental connection with their grandparents and with their mom and dad. Okay? If you want to stop drug use, you have to keep families together, help women to be more feminine, stay home, help men to provide, not to abandon their wives, and help marriages stay together by showing cooperation and helping them to get counseling. The more stable the home, the healthier the children will be and the less likely they will be to use drugs. And maybe even giving the death penalty for third strike drug dealers. And then banning without zero tolerance. So you get caught third time selling drugs, automatic death penalty, no appeal, and then have public, like live stream the execution in death row. You have to put, like the Philippines, Duterte had a very interesting thing that he did, where he was serious about how drugs ruin a country. So you have to crack down on those who sell it, and then help keep the families stable and healthy together. That's gonna help people not want to use drugs. Okay? But if you're just gonna go send special forces in and shoot at cartel members, there will always be someone there to fill the void. Because the market has demanded that. The customer demands it. There's so much money to be made. People don't have jobs, so they choose crime, and then the cycle continues. I would say that it's really quite sad how Americans, my people, we really avoid accountability. We really are brainwashed. It's quite bizarre. All around us, we can see, like, how bad it's getting. But then we see these snippets of these politicians, and you're like, more war, more foreign aid. And they're like, that billions you're sending to Ukraine and to Israel could literally be put towards mental health addiction recovery centers. Like, you could really amp it up. But they don't. And the thing is they're just going to tax more and more people, take more and more money away from our paychecks, and then this will push more people into poverty, which will push more people to use drugs. So they're not solving anything. If they go and cause problems with Mexico and cause problems with Iran and send more money to the Middle East and piss off Egypt and Jordan by bombing around there. And then they go and try to cause problems with China. We have to start seeing our politicians know they'll have a golden parachute. They'll always have the steak in their mouth and the cocktail circle. They'll have the air conditioning, the perfect heaters. The taxpayers will fund their lifestyle, while the average American, who's losing more and more from their paycheck, is going to have a harder, more depressed time coping with reality. And that in and of itself, as I mentioned, pushes drugs. So none of those politicians on that stage had any sane response to stopping fentanyl, because you have to make people not buy the product. And yes, there's accidental laced pills and whatnot, but the point is, and also fentanyl is used in epidurals, so you gotta manufacture it anyways. It just has to get into the right hands, and you have to help people not want to use drugs to escape reality. America has pushed alcoholism, party culture, hookup culture, and more on their population for so long, and they're reaping the fruits of their labor, and they're blaming other countries for their own social ills. Okay, the secular liberal atheists say legalize, tax, and regulate all drugs. So their solution is decriminalize it to where if you get caught with it, you don't get punished. And this means more drugs will be in circulation. There'll be more mini mules who can transport it, and they'll go under the quantity that is allowed. So if they say, oh, you're allowed this many ounces, and then if you go beyond that, you'll be arrested. So the cartels will just hire a bunch of mules to carry under that amount, and then they'll still be able to disperse it. So it won't really stop it. And they'll open up a legit business if the liberals pass that type of reform, right? And so there's so many different angles you can go at it, but none of them had any tough words for America, right? Let me know what you think. I've mentioned this quite a number of times in the past, because drugs ruined my family. Both my parents were drug addicts. And even today there was another homeless man, drug addict, kind of passed out, twitching his feet as I'm walking my kid to school with the baby stroller. And it's becoming increasingly dangerous, okay? And so moms sacrificing their careers to raise healthy, sane children is key. We have to protect them. There has to be that reckoning in Islam, because it forbids intoxicants, has a severe chokehold on drug use. A good Muslim will not use intoxicants, while Jews and Christians make excuses to drink, which opens the door for all kinds of evil. We'll say casual Jays, but Christians in America across the board, all of them drink. A lot of them. And if you tell them not to, they actually defend it. So no matter how many funerals they go to, or how many men beat their wives, and how many women cheat on their husbands because of alcohol, you'll still see them making excuses for drinking, saying Jesus drank. And they refuse to acknowledge that the Bible says drunkards will not go into paradise. And then if you talk to them about the slippery slope, they just keep making excuses because of the cowboy brainwashing of country music and Christian rock music that enables them to keep making excuses to keep drinking until the point where they're alcoholics, and the couple gets divorced because someone won't drink. Someone won't stop drinking. And so attacking Mexico in any fashion over fentanyl is absurd. If you want to stop drugs, you have to cure the American culture. And you have to crack down on the music industry, Hollywood, help keep families together, and provide more mental health services for people who are struggling. And Islam has superior members just by the fact that they're sober. That's a beautiful thing. It's a classic cliche in Hollywood to see a priest drinking red wine. At least Muslims are sober. Muslims who have strong faith, that is. Let me know what you think. I just wanted to get that idea out there. If you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilhanArchive. Hope to see you there.